All right. It looks like we are live over here on the old Geeks of Rage podcast. And today I have a couple of guests, one that you can see, the other one you can't. And at some point, maybe we'll just have to take him outside and beat him for not having his cam feed. But nonetheless, I have two more of our lovely Super Retro Force members with us here today. And the one that you can see is none other than the Mad Belmont. What is going on, brother?
What's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me on here, man. It's gonna be fun what we're gonna do here.
Oh, yeah. And then the one that you cannot see is Mr. Surgeman X. Again, another Super Retro Force member. How's it going, brother?
Hello, Searchman X here, and I'm excited to rank some Super Nintendo games. Super Nintendo is my favorite console, so I'm curious to
Ooh.
see what you guys feel about some certain games we're about to rank.
Oh, yeah. I will say that it's as much as a Genesis guy I can't sit here and like knock the SNES. Like I absolutely do love it. And the only thing that I honestly could say why I probably hedge towards the Genesis more is probably more nostalgia, and probably in my mind off the top of my head I would say a lot more of my go-to games are on the Genesis, but they're both fantastic systems, and I'm not going to sit here and try to be one of those gatekeepers type people and be like, oh no, it's got to be one or the other. Like, no, I love them both. It's just, I would say, like I said, I just kind of edge towards the Sega side of things just from my personal experiences and all that stuff, the whole nostalgia growing up with it and all that stuff. What say you, Belmont?
I primarily grew up as a Nintendo kid. I played NES, Super Nintendo, and N64. I didn't even know that Sega made consoles until I found out about the Dreamcast in like 2000. So, yeah, very limited experience with Sega's consoles, but I
Okay.
have gotten better with that over the years. But I have extensive experience with the Super Nintendo, so can't wait to see what you all think about some of these games here.
Oh yeah, I will say you guys made it kind of hard on me because you guys being the guests, I allowed you guys to make your lists first, and so with what you guys gave me, then I had to come up with games. I'm like, damn. But the good thing is you guys pick games that I would have picked. There is one. I'll just note there was one notable mention that I did have on my list, and I know Serge will be like, "Oh, it's a good game." Because why? Because I know he's a Mega Man fan, of course. But when it came down to, I had 11 games left because I finished up my list this morning. The one that did not make the cut just for this one. Not saying I couldn't do it on another one, but for today, Mega Man and Bass, aka Rockman and Forte, on the Super Famicom. I had to cut that one because when I went through everything, I was like, I played it. I played through it a few times when I was in high school, but I haven't played it as much as I played some of these other games because a lot of the other games that I have on here, I personally have played off and on over the years. But that was a great Mega Man game and one that I did want to talk about, but it'll just have to wait for another time.
Fantastic game. Pretty hard, though, but really hard game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Belmont.
That's one I don't have any experience with. I'm going through the Mega Man games.
Yeah,
New Mega Man fan here, but
yeah.
I haven't gotten to that one yet. But when I do, yeah, it'll be going somewhere.
So, you'll obviously, I know like you, Belmont, are like myself, and you try to go for some retro achievements and such. It is, like I said, it's technically a Super Famicom game. So when you go to like look up the ROM, it's Rockman and Forte. But it's funny when I first found the game, because like I said, I first played it when I was in high school. I was probably a freshman in high school. I thought it was a ROM hack because I had no idea about the character base at all. So I just thought it was like some sort of a ROM hack. But I was like, man, this is pretty well put together. And then I found out that it was just a Japanese release. But it's a good game though, for sure.
Absolutely, he's one of the best Mega Man games out there.
Fair enough. I can't wait to play it and get some thoughts on it for myself.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Yeah, you'll get some frustrations and stuff like that, like any typical Mega Man game. When you're trying to go in blind and learn all the patterns and stuff, you're gonna be going, "Oh my god!" But after a while, you get used to it, and then you'll start getting comfortable with everything.
I may or may not have been going through that, going through these stinking games, man.
Oh, I'm sure.
I, I'm I've gone through seven. I've gone through 1 through 7. I'm on 8
Okay.
right now, and yeah, yeah, it's been a task for sure.
Okay. Now I can say for myself personally, I haven't played through all of the Mega Man games. I have played like say a little bit, excuse me, of a lot of them. Mega Man 2 is the one I've played the most of, which is why I can speed run it. Uh, 3 I have not beat without using save states yet. 4 I played a little bit of. I have not played 5 or 6. I played a little bit of 7. I own 8, which is a fantastic game. I love Mega Man 8. I did not
Hell yeah.
play. I don't think I played 9. And of course, I played X2, and X3, but I never beat X2 or X3. But I did beat X. And then I never got to do the. Oh, I did play X4. Then after that, I don't think I haven't played any of the other games and the newer ones after that. I think that's where I
Well,
stopped.
the X franchise kind of goes down at their X4, so you're not really missing much.
Okay. And you would know, so I will take your advice to kind of wait to play those other ones and work on getting the achievements for the earlier releases.
Yeah, good call.
Okay, so what we are doing today, folks, for those that might be just now stumbling in and have no idea what we're doing because all you can see is the chat, Belmont and myself, and then you hear the ghost that is Surge. We are going to be ranking 30 SNES games. Now, this, again, similar to the one that we just did, me and Rad, a couple weeks ago. This is not a top 30. This is just 30 games that we chose that we just wanted to talk about, and we're going to be ranking them amongst themselves. Now, there will be a little bit of a difference with this one in comparison to the one that Rad and I did. So, me and Rad did, we just did like kind of a collected tier, but we were just putting them where we wanted them on an individual basis. So I will show you guys what I am talking about here. So going through rather, if I can talk, the tiers here. So this is the main one that's going to have all 30 games. You can kind of barely see these two down here. It's Zelda, Link to the Past, and then Super Mario World 2. But I just chopped it off because there's an ad below it, so I just didn't want to catch that there. So, but I can kind of do that so you can see. So the total games that we have are Zombies Ate My Neighbors, Killer Instinct, Earth Defense Force, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Contra 3, The Alien Wars, Donkey Kong Country 2, DK Country 1, Earthbound, Kirby Superstar, Super Mario RPG, Maximum Carnage, Mega Man X, Pocky and Rocky, Super Mario World, Super Mario All-Stars, Super Smash TV, Earthworm Jim, Super Punch-Out, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, Ogre Battle, Turtles in Time, Final Fantasy III, Super Metroid, F-Zero, Top Gear, Super Castlevania 4, and then, like I said, Zelda, Link to the Past, and then, of course, Super Mario World 2. And I actually played all of these games minus Top Gear, which I did play for about an hour today because I had to play it so I could at least try to see what it was about. As even though I'm not much of a racing guy, I'm not going to lie, Serge, I was finding myself getting really into the game, so I was glad that you kind of turned me on to that.
Soundtrack is amazing.
So what we're going to do is, without further ado, I am going to start my list. So I'll have, here's my list, there's Serge's list, Belmont's list, and then this will look similar to the first list, but this one is going to be the chat. So you guys get to vote on where you want the games to be. I will be posting up the polls so that way you guys can vote on where you want the games to go. And keep in mind that with there being 30 games and 5 tiers, we're going to do similar rules to what we did last time. You can do 6 games per tier. So just keep that in mind as you're voting, so that way you don't put something that you would really want towards the top and it ends up being in the C or D category like Rad and I did. We got a little overzealous on a couple of games, and then in hindsight, we're like, what the hell were we thinking? But nonetheless, I'll start off, and let's see here. I am going to go... Oh, man. I don't even know what I'm going to be putting at the top, to be honest with you. This is tough. I guess I'll start... Oh, jeez. Even trying to put something in D just seems like just a sham, because these are all great games. But I will go Ogre Battle, and I'll put it... I'm going to say... You know what? I keep going between C and D. I'll probably regret it, but I'll put it in C. I'll put it in C for now. That's where I'm going to put it. So, for those that don't know, Ogre Battle is it's a tactical RPG, and you go through various maps, and you have to build up armies of different characters. Some of them, like, you have to hire them, per se, is what they refer to it as. You're hiring them by using gold and stuff, and you have to liberate the different cities of each map, and then once you liberate the cities, you can get different items and stuff, and you'll get tarot cards, and the tarot cards have certain special abilities that you can use in the battles. Some of them deal damage, some of them heal, and the problem with that, though, it kind of gets problematic, is if you go in blind and you have no idea what the cards are, you're going to be like using healing cards, and you don't know they're healing cards, and you might not even need healing cards. So you're going to end up wasting them unless you go online and check out what each card does. And I'm trying to just think, and then you're just going through, and again, you're working through each map, progressing until you get to the very end map, and then obviously you go through. At that point, you've built up a good army, and you're leveling up your characters, and you can, throw them in different arrangements and stuff based off of what they do from their attributes, rather their, physical fighter type characters or mage type characters or ranged characters. Like, they got a slew of different characters, to be honest with you. And that's why I personally liked it quite a bit. And I really do like tactical RPGs. And I know there's like a lot of people that despise them out there, but I personally, I like them myself. And this is one, if you guys have not played it, I personally would suggest checking it out and at least giving it a look and playing it for a few hours before, either quitting or continuing on your game with it. So, Belma, what do you got on this?
Okay, so with Ogre Battle, this is one that I need to go back to because I played it when I was a kid, and I was getting into RPGs after one of the games that's on my list got me into RPGs, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but I have gotten to get more into tactical RPGs over the years, so my opinion may change on this, but right now it's definitely a lower tier game for me personally because I didn't understand it when I first played it.
Okay, fair enough. Have you played this at all, Serge?
So sadly, I only played this once on the Wii Virtual Console back in the day.
Okay.
Played it out of curiosity and have not returned to it since. I think I only played for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So I honestly do not have much of an opinion on this game. So whatever you decide to rank it, I'll have no qualms about it.
Okay, so I would say, so me and Belmont are about the same. So he said, I'll just put it at D. So D, it shall go. So that will be our collective one. and then mine, I have it at C. And right now we're just waiting on the chat. So in the meantime, we can move along while they're voting and move on to Surge. So Surge, which game do you want to talk about first, and where would you like me to put it?
So right off the bat, I'll go for an S tier game. Gotta go with Mega Man X, my second favorite game of all time. Fun fact: Sega Genesis game actually holds the #1 game of all time for me, but that'll be for a discussion for another day. But Mega Man X to me is the best Super Nintendo game. The game I've had. It's got me that introduced me into the Mega Man franchise. It's a game I constantly go back to. I know it like the back of my hand. Graphics, the music, the gameplay blend together fantastically, and that's why it's an S tier game for me.
What do you got on it, Belmont?
With Mega Man X, this was before I started getting hardcore into Mega Man. This was one of 2 games in the entire Mega Man franchise that I had ever played, and I loved it. And I have replayed it since then. Still think that it is one of the best Super Nintendo games out there. I wouldn't say it's the best, me personally. Don't kill me, Serge. But I do think it is a top tier game. For me, it's a.
All right, I'll say for myself, Mega Man X. So Mega Man X was actually the second Mega Man game that I ever played. The first one was Mega Man 2. And I will never forget when I first laid eyes on this beauty of a game. I absolutely love me some Mega Man X. I was in coach pitch baseball at the time, so I was a good 7 years old. And I just got done doing our little parade that we had to do for Memorial Day. And the kid across the street had it. And I go to his house, and I didn't, without even seeing the game, I'm hearing the music. I was like, man, this sounds awesome. What is he doing? And I see the visuals of Mega Man X. And I'm going, like, my jaw about hit the floor. And I just was all in. And it is a game that I have played off and on ever since. And the irony is I actually haven't played it all the way through in probably a handful of years. So I know if I tried to do it without save states, I'd probably get wrecked right now. But for the most part, like, I know all the weaknesses for the bosses. It's just the timing of trying to get back into the groove of things to be able to really flow through it. But it is a fantastic game. And it's, oh man, I want to say at least from what I can remember, because I didn't play too much of X2 and X3, but from what I can remember music-wise, from what I heard, it seemed like X1 had a better overall soundtrack. Serge, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but if I could remember it, I think X had the overall better songs for the levels.
100%. X1 has the best soundtrack from the 3 on the SNES.
Okay. Well, at least I didn't get that part wrong. All right, so going back to the chat here, it looks like they said 100% voted for Ogre Battle to go into the CD tier. So I guess, because I can only do 4, sadly. So I guess since we put it in the D tier, I guess that is where it'll go for now. And now maybe I'll just do another quick poll in the meantime. And let's go C or D. C, D. Okay. So let them vote on that. And I know it's going to end up being, the chat's going to be a little behind on us here. But, where are we at now? Mr. Belmont, where are we going to go with you?
Let me also get an easy S tier game out of the way. And for me, let me see. Oh, you had the mouse right over it. It's NBA Jam Tournament
Edition. Oh, I thought it was going to be Castlevania 4. Ooh. I was like, it's got to be Castlevania. But NBA Jam, you're one.
Now I wanted to throw everyone I wanted to throw everyone a sinker. See, I wanted you to think it was going there, and then at the last second, boom, drop it.
Gotcha. All right. So you're positive you want this at S. Final answer.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I play this game so much, it's not even funny. Like, I play multiple versions of this game. I love it. It is one of my favorite games of all time. Just, I grew up with this game. I'm a huge sports gamer. I was telling Roy this before we went live here. There were two constants in my life: Castlevania and sports games.
Yep.
And sports games were a huge part of my life because I played sports. IRL. I played basketball and football. Basketball was my first obsession. So to have this game in this list, I cannot put that game anywhere but S. That is the best basketball game. I dare say it's the best sports game ever made because of how fun it is. You can, even if you don't like basketball, pick up NBA Jam and still have a good time with it because of how zany and over the top it is. And, you know, doing these flashy dunks that you sky up into the rafters for, you know,
Yeah.
Infinity on fire, breaking the backboard in certain games. Like, yeah, it's so much fun to play.
Go ahead, Serge. What do you got?
So I'm not a big fan of sports games. It's just not my genre. However, I grew up with NBA Jam on the Sega Genesis. I would play with my dad. I play with my brother. But it is one of my favorite sports games. But me, at least, there are so many other Super Nintendo games that trump it for me. I have to put it at a C.
Put it at a C. I'm gonna say, oh, yeah. You know, I really like both NBA Jam games. Like I played the crap out of them on the Genesis as a kid. I never actually got to play the Super Nintendo versions until I started emulating. But with the games that are on this list, sadly, with what it's going up against, I'm gonna have to say the same. I'm gonna either go C or D, but Belmont says S. So if we say C, I guess the average would probably be, that'd put it like at like a B. So that's where it shall lie, is at the B tier. Are you okay with that, Belmont? You're not going to shed a tear on us, are you?
You know, I knew that people, I know that a lot of people don't like sports games, so I kind of saw this coming. But,
Okay.
you know, I'm just going to have to accept it.
Hey, it's okay, man. But
I respect it, though. I
Yes.
respect it.
100%. And again, it doesn't mean the game sucks. It's just, again, like that's why I made the point to just say, when I'm looking at the catalog of games that we have for us today, it's hard to say, is it like, to try to keep this in mind. So if we're doing 6 per tier, could you, well, maybe Belmont could, but I'm just sitting there thinking, could it be in the top 12 between A and S ranking? And I'm like, I really don't. And then even putting it, like if I said B, I'm like, so that would put it at the top 18. And I'm going, it'd be like borderline for me. It'd be like high C. Like it'd be like a high C, you know, and then the B would be a possibility depending on like how I'm kind of like looking at things from my own personal angle. But I would have to be honest and say it would probably be more of a C for that reason.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
All right.
I just have it so high because it's a game that, you know, that made a huge impact on me.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the whole thing too. Is I like a lot of things similar to like the consoles in general. Like how I said the Genesis holds true to me for nostalgic reasons. I'm sure the same holds to you for NBA Jam. So I mean, everybody's got little things that it hits a little bit different for them than it would for somebody else. So I totally get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, so Mega Man X is at a 3-way tie right now with S, A, and B. So I guess if you average those out, we'll say that Mega Man X would go, because there's 3 votes. So we would say that'd be A tier. So chat goes Mega Man X, A. Okay. Okay. Oops, sorry. All right, so I was trying to hurry up and create the next poll for NBA Jam for you guys. All right, so there's NBA Jam. So now going into our list, so we didn't put Mega Man X on ours. So Surge said S. Belmont, what would you rate Mega Man X?
I'd rate that game based off of the 2 times that I played it. I'd say it's man, I'm trying to figure out because I do have limited slots here. Uh, yeah, I'd definitely say it's a.
Okay, if you're saying, okay, you say A, I am going to, whoops, I just hit back on it. Gosh darn it. What did I do that for? Idiot. There we go. Okay. So he said A. I was going to say S. So we got 2 S's and an A. So it'll sit in the S tier because I mean, for me, Mega Man X is just, yeah, it totally hits in more ways than one.
That game hours.
Yeah. And just I'm going to take a brief moment to go through the chat and just welcome everybody real quick because I am a bad host and I did not do that earlier on. But I see JP is in the chat. We got Aiden, of course. Thanks for hanging in there, bud. Rad Bash, Fat Boys Gaming, Dale. Thank you all for coming and hanging with us this evening. Greatly appreciate it. So, going on to my next pick. Oh boy. So it's even hard for me to even say an S tier right now because I'm just looking and I'm going, what am I putting at S? You know what? I take it back. I do know one that's going to go in S, and that is going to be Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I absolutely love this game, and it's another one that I go back and play a bunch of times. And the ironic thing is even though I've played it so much, it's one of those games that if I don't play it for like a year, I'm pretty well screwed on my memorization on stuff because for those that might not have played any of the Ghouls and Ghosts games, they're all very difficult. I know some people might say they're not, but I personally think they're pretty difficult. But not only do you have to play through it once, but then you have to go through the painstaking process of doing it again, and then you finally beat the game. And it takes me quite a while to go through and beat it twice. And I personally think that Super Ghouls and Ghosts is actually harder than Ghouls and Ghosts on the Sega Genesis. Now, some might say it's different for them, but for me personally, I felt it was easier for me to get the timing down on the Sega version of Ghouls and Ghosts versus playing Super Ghouls and Ghosts. And of course, I know they're 2 separate games, but nonetheless, I just felt that the Genesis version was easier for me to pick apart and get the patterns down over Super Ghouls and Ghosts. But anyways, for that, I'll put it in S. What do you have on it, Mr. Belmont?
So I actually have a pretty unique perspective on this. I just beat this game earlier this year because it was a game that always haunted me as a kid. I never could beat that game. I rented it multiple times, never could beat it. I finally said, you know what, I'm gonna crush this game, and I did with save states. So call me a dirty rotten cheater if you want to, but
hey, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, man. I get it.
yeah, so I did beat this game earlier this year. It's so much fun. And I also beat Ghouls and Ghosts as well. So I can actually agree with you on that because I had a much harder time with Super Ghouls and Ghosts than I did with Ghouls and Ghosts. Uh, so if I was to be ranking these though, it's definitely not an S tier game for me. I'm flirting with A and B. And I know and I know that there's a couple of games on this list that you know definitely could get that A spot. So for right now, I'll put it in B.
Okay, you're saying B. So what do you think, Serge? What's your thoughts on it, and where would you like to see Super Ghouls and Ghosts lie?
It's definitely the tough game for sure. One of the hardest on the system. I like the different power ups you can get. The levels are great. The boss designs are top notch. But I gotta put it in. I probably gotta put it in C just for the simple fact
Ooh.
with the other games we have on the list. I think there are, in my opinion, better games than Super Ghouls and Ghosts that are about to come up.
So let's see here. I'm just trying to think of how this would average out. Cause I say S, you say C, he says B. I'm gonna say that probably. Yeah, we'll just say that B. We'll just say B. We'll put it in B. That's fine. I'm okay with that. All right. Uh, Now, just remember, chat, be on the lookout for the polls, of course. So, like right now, you guys got the poll for Super Ghouls and Ghosts. See where you guys rank that. This is where you guys have your tier list right now for what we're doing. The chat has NBA Jam at S tier, Belmont. You'll be happy to know. And then Mega Man X is in the A tier, and then Ogre Battle is down at D tier. Now, again, for those that might be lurking about and kind of caught us in the middle of things, I'll kind of refresh everybody. This is not a top 30, but just the ranking of these games amongst themselves. So even if it's in D, it doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's just, we're saying it just might not be one that is ahead of the others. That's all. So going on. Serge, what would you like to talk about next? And where would you like me to put it?
I am gonna go for an A tier game.
An
I'm
A
gonna
tier
go
game.
with Final Fantasy 3, aka Final Fantasy 6, as my A tier pick.
Nice.
Um, that game, there are 3 games that I grew up with that are the Triforce of RPGs that got me into genre. That would be Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 3, and Secret of Mana. Final Fantasy 6 or 3 is my favorite of the Final Fantasy games. There's a lot of things that game does fantastic that I feel like Square Enix still hasn't replicated today. It has the best villain, one of the best soundtracks in gaming as a whole, fantastic characters, and a really cool plot twist if you've never played the game. And with that being said, it's in my top 10 games of all time, but in terms of this list, it's taken the A tier spot.
Go ahead, Belmont. You got anything on Final Fantasy 3?
Oh yeah. So this game is what not only got me into Final Fantasy, but it was the game that got me into RPGs. That's why I said earlier, there's one game on this list that got me into RPGs. That's the one. Love Final Fantasy 3, aka 6. Uh, I actually got into the game because I went over to my brother's house. I saw him playing Final Fantasy 7. I wanted to play that one, but I didn't have a PlayStation. So we went to the rental store. I picked that one out because I like the cover art, and the rest is history. I love that game. I adore it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Easy, easy, easy S tier on that one for me. Love that game to death.
So this is
And
where
it
it
would
gets.
have been on my list if Search hadn't picked it.
So this one, sadly, I never got around to playing. I never got to play 2 or 3.
Oof.
I know it sucks. I did play Mystic Quest though. I know everyone talks crap about it, but that's still not a bad game. But I know to the snobs out there, they'll probably say, "Well, it's a beginner's game." It's like, yeah, but still, it wasn't a bad game. I liked it, but I'm just trying to base it off of just because like since I haven't played it, uh, I'm just trying to look at everything else. I'm just going to have to say, I'm just going to say C. So you got what?
That's fair.
An S, and you said A, and then I said C. So we'll just say that'll go in the A tier. Yeah. Okay. So that'll sit in the A tier. So right now, as it lies, the chat voted Super Ghouls and Ghosts to be in the B tier, and whoops, wrong thing. So they got Ghouls and Ghosts in B tier. So to recap, they got NBA Jam at S, Mega Man X at A, Super Ghouls and Ghosts B, and then Ogre Battle at D. Okay. So I'm just going to be asking now the chat, coming in hot with the poll. So there you go. Final Fantasy 3. Where do you guys want that? So now, going back to Belmont. All right, what do we got for your second game, and where would you like me to put it?
All right, so because I was mean to y'all and threw the sinker earlier, I'm gonna go to the other guaranteed ass game. Put Super Castlevania.
Oh, there it is. I was gonna say there ain't no way that ain't going in S. So what do you got for us, man?
This game, to me, is the best Super Nintendo game. I love it. It is a game that I go back to without question. I was actually just playing it yesterday because I was trying to practice up for a future Deathless run that I'm going to attempt on that game.
Ooh.
And yeah, I have so much fun with that game. From the music to the stage design to everything about it, I cannot think of another Super Nintendo game before Super Castlevania 4.
What do you got on it, Surge?
It's not the first Castlevania game I played. However, it is the first classic style Castlevania game I played back when it was released on the Wii Virtual Console service, and I instantly fell in love with the game. The sound is the best on the system. Gameplay is fun, especially with all the different whipping directions you can do with Simon. There's a lot to love about the game, but I have to put it at an A tier for me personally.
You're gonna go A. Okay, so I'll just go for myself here. I never got to beat it all the way yet. I've played it off and on a couple times when I've tried to either get achievements or even years ago. The first time I ever played it, I was in high school, and I'll be honest, I was blown away at the way the graphics were on it for a game of when it was released, because I believe it was, 91, 92 when this came out? Does that sound right, Belmont? Oh, having some...
I think it was a launch game.
It was 1991.
Or close to it.
91?
It was
Okay.
1991.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a launch game, but it was definitely in that launch window.
Okay. I remember when I seen the year, I went, wow, they did a lot of good things with this, like different layering and stuff like that, and the way that they blended the colors. I was like, for a game coming out at that point in time, I thought they did a really good job on the presentation. And then also I did like the aspect of when you're using the whip, how you can kind of move it, you know what I mean? Instead of just hitting the button and you whip, you know what I mean? Like, so you can kind of like move it up or down, like to put it in position to whatever you're trying to do. I thought that was a cool take on it, and definitely added to the experience of how to go about using the whip. I would have to say, oh man, this is tough. I am going to go, because I'm just trying to think. I'll put it in A. I could say A tier. So Belmont says S. I say A. What was Surge?
Surge, I think also said A.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just say, excuse me, that it'll sit in A.
I can accept that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I never got to beat it, but from as far as I've gotten, It was very well put together, and I have no bad things really to say about it whatsoever.
If it was lower than that, I'd be pissed.
So it looks like right now we got 4 votes for Final Fantasy. 2 are going to be for the S tier, 1 for A, and 1 for B. So I guess that would, I guess that would kind of average to be, would you guys say that that's like an A tier then? You got 1 A, 1 B, and then
Yeah.
2 S's.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'd say it's an 8.
Okay. All right. So the chat now has 2 slots taken in their A tier. And remember, guys, you got a total of 6 slots for each tier. So just keep that in mind as we go along. So now going into my next pick. And once I start talking about my pick, I'll throw up the next poll, which was for a Super Castlevania 4 for you guys in the chat to start voting on where you guys would like to see that ranked for your guys' tiers. So the next game, I am going to say, out of the games that are left, you know what? I did make a mistake. I knew it already. I should have put Ogre Battle at D. I'm like, damn it. Oh, well, it's okay. So I am going to go Earth Defense Force at D. Now, again, not saying it's a bad game because I love Earth Defense Force. It's just when I'm ranking it with what I have, I'm like, I can't say that it's better than these other games. I mean, at least I should say I can't say it's better than 2 games to put it in C tier. So, Earth Defense Force, for those that do not know, is a shoot 'em up, and to be fair, I actually think that you could say, because if no one's ever played shoot 'em ups, they're freaking hard. All of them, they make them ridiculously hard. So I would, honest to God, say that Earth Defense Force, you could say, is almost like beginner tier of shoot 'em ups, in my opinion. This was the first one that I was actually able to play all the way through. It took me forever, but once I finally did beat the game, oh my God, the satisfaction level was like through the roof, because I think I was only about, I want to say about 10 or 11 years old when I beat it. And it was not emulation either. This was legit on the OG hardware. So, and there wasn't really the internet at that point in time, like there was, but it wasn't nothing like it is now. So I couldn't look up anything on any sort of things on what weapons worked the best or anything like that. It was all trial and error, and then I finally figured it out. And when I did, oh my God, that was probably one of the most satisfying wins that I think I've had because of how hard it was. But if I had to, again, just because I'm ranking it amongst just the games that I have on my own list, I couldn't put it ahead of some of these other games. But it is a fantastic shoot 'em up. I thought for the times the soundtrack really was pretty solid for the times. The visuals are really good. The first level like really got me, the way the clouds were layered out and just how everything, like how it just ran. I think it's just visually looks really good. And it's one that if you have not played it, I highly suggest you guys give it a go. What say you, Belmont? You got anything for Earth Defense Force?
This is one that I unfortunately do not have all that much experience with. I played like a minute or two of it on NSO when I first got my Nintendo Switch and it was on NSO. But as far as what I've played of it, that barely like a minute or two that I played of it, it seemed to be pretty fun. It was a pretty fun shmup. I do like shmups. I do plan on going and actually giving it a fair shot someday because I love games like Gradius and R-Type and games like that.
Yeah.
So with this game being a shmup, I would I would like to play it, because shmups are fun. they're hard, like you said, but they're
Yeah,
fun.
they are.
And so with that, I can't really, have an opinion on it because I've played so little of it, but
Okay.
it would definitely go into the lower tiers for sure.
Okay. Let's say you, Surge.
So I love shoot 'em ups, but I've never played this one, unfortunately. So I put it in D tier by default.
Okay, fair enough. So that's where I would put it anyways. So that is perfectly fine with me. But Surge, yeah, man, if you play, you'll see what I mean. If you've played enough shmups, and there's obviously some that, in my opinion, I have no freaking idea how anybody can beat them organically without using save states because they're just that damn difficult. But this one, uh, I would like to think, like I said, if you've played enough, you would probably agree that this would be like an entry level type shmup, that it's very challenging but not to the point where you feel like you're just going to throw your controller against the wall and just give up on it after trying for about a month. It's nothing like that.
It's manageable at the very least.
Yeah. All right, so
Also,
while the chat is voting on Super Castlevania 4, we will go to Surge's next pick. What would you like? Well, I should say before you begin, I kind of cut you off there. Didn't mean to. What were you wanting to add there?
no, I'm good.
Okay.
That's everything I had to say. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, what is your next game then, and where would you like me to throw it up on the tier list?
I'm gonna throw Kirby Superstar in the B tier.
B tier. Ooh-wee.
Yeah, my favorite Kirby game, but compared
Okay.
to what else I picked personally, I have no choice but to put it at B tier. My favorite Kirby game. I remember playing this game on my friend's Super Famicom when he lived here briefly before he moved back to Japan back in the day. We'd have a lot of fun with the multiplayer, unlocking all the different extra mini games, playing the arena mode, trying to do the boss rush. It was just good times.
Yeah.
And I feel like that game really set a precedent for what Kirby can do when it comes to his copy abilities. So I think Kirby Superstar left a lasting impact on the franchise. So I'll leave it at the B tier.
Okay. What say you, Belmont?
Now, Kirby is a franchise that I don't have a whole lot of experience with. I've only played the N64 one, and then earlier this year, when Rad, our fearless leader, was talking about how great Kirby Superstar is to me, I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Went on NSO, played a couple of the games on there, loved it. This is a fun game, and I agree with everything that Serge was saying about it. It's a super fun game. I think it definitely set the standard for what Kirby could do with his copy abilities later on in the series. So, yeah, I would definitely agree with it being in B for sure. It's not A, it's not S, but it's solid B.
Oh man. I will say for myself. Now, I honestly never got to play it until just recently. Aiden in the chat, uh, kudos to you for having me play it on a live stream when I was asking the chat what they would like to see me play. And this got thrown out there, and I didn't get to play too much into it. So it wasn't bad from what I played. It's just, again, I'm trying to look at the games that we have yet to talk about, and I can't in my right mind say that I would put it in a B, A, or S tier. I would have to say, in all honesty, with what I'm looking at, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Shoot, I'm gonna say C. So you guys both said B and I said C. So I guess that would average out probably to a B. So I guess that's where it would go. Because I don't really want to say it's a D game, but yeah, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Yeah. Well, you know what? Hold on. I'm just trying to look real quick. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I would say D. So we'll drop her to a C. because I'm like looking, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm like, I don't think it's better than what games are left. I can't comfortably say that I would say it's better than any of these games except for maybe Top Gear. And like that'd be
Oh, fair enough.
and that'd be probably it for myself.
And now Rad's gonna fire all of us.
Sorry, Rad. Gotta be honest, brother. Oh gosh. All right, so before we go on to Belmont, I'm just gonna see where the chat ranked Super Castlevania 4. So we got 4 votes, 2 for S tier, 1 for A, 1 for B. So we'll say that's another A tier. Yeah.
Whoever voted for SCV4 and B, shame on you.
I figured that would be the consensus there. All right, so Belmont, getting back to you. What would you like to talk about next, and where would you like me to put it on the tier?
Okay, so I will go for an A tier game next. Put Link to the Past up there.
Ooh, Link to the Past. And where do you want it? Said A?
Yeah.
All right. I guess I should have figured that by default, because I was like, man, I don't really see anybody putting that in B, but you never know. Never know. So what do you got for us?
Oh man. Okay, so this is one of my favorite Zelda games. I absolutely love A Link to the Past. This is one of the few games on the Super Nintendo that I owned back as a kid, because I got a hand-me-down Super Nintendo from my brother, and that was one of the games. And that was one of my most played games outside of the Castlevania games on there, of course. So, yeah, cannot talk enough about just how great the soundtrack is, how fun that game is to play, and even years later, it still holds up with its gameplay, with its visuals, with its music. Uh, Even in terms of the Zelda series, which is a fantastic series as a whole, and we've gotten some fantastic games in that franchise, but it's still a very top tier Zelda game. So I have to put it in A.
All right. What do you got on it, Serge?
So I actually never played Link to the Past until the GBA port that came out, and I enjoyed my time with it. Um, I'm gonna. I'm that guy. I have to put it at the B tier.
B?
I
Ooh.
just, yeah, I just
Oh,
compared
you
to
just broke my heart, Serge.
I know,
Ow.
I know. Compared to other Super Nintendo games, though, I've played, it's there's so many good ones out there. So, and I think it blames. I think it's part that I didn't grow up with the game.
That's
so
fair.
I think. So I have to put it by B by default, but it is a damn good game. It's a fantastic Zelda game, sure.
Oh, if you think that's bad, just wait till you hear me, and I'll explain why. I'm gonna have to say C, and I'll explain why.
Whoa!
I'll hold on. Now you gotta remember.
Whoa now.
Hold on.
Roy's gonna have the Zelda fandom on his booty.
This is why though. You gotta remember, because this is why we talk these things out, and we try to come up with a compromise, right? Everybody's got their niche as far as what they, their favorite types of games are and stuff like that. So when I'm looking at the list of games that we have left, I'm going. Now, mind you, and I can also say this: I did not beat Link to the Past. I've gotten. I don't even know if I could say I got halfway through, because I don't know how it ends and what areas are at what progression. But I know I was at least, I probably, God, I mean, if I recall correctly, I at least put a good couple hours into it at least. But so I mean, I felt like I was pretty well into it. I thought. I could be wrong, but I did like the gameplay. I did like the visuals, just like Belmont said. I love the sounds, the music. I mean, I did like all of it a lot. I thought from what I had played, it was very well put together. However, it's just, again, me looking at everything that's in front of me, and I'm like, can I really put it ahead of pretty much everything? No. and it's again personal preference. So that's why I say C. So you got in 1A, 1B, 1C. So that would essentially put it at B tier. So, yeah. Unless, even though you've said it's an A game on your list, Belmont, if you think that Zelda should be an S tier on ours, you can always say that as well. And that would, if you did want it, that would bump it. I would say I'd probably bump it up to the A tier.
I would say S, but I know that there's a couple here on this list that I do want to put in S, so I'll
Okay.
keep it at A.
All right. And don't forget, people that are in the chat, see that we got 8 people in here. Don't forget to vote on where you guys want the games to be at for your guys' list, because as you see here, this is what the chat has currently. You guys have NBA Jam at S, Mega Man X at A, Final Fantasy 3 at A, Super Castlevania 4 at A, Super Ghouls and Ghosts at B, and then Ogre Battle at D. And currently, right now, I just seen there was 2 votes for, what was it? Kirby Superstars. I don't even think I asked him about Earth Defense Force yet. No, I didn't. But right now, yeah, so we got now 4 votes for Kirby. So 50% at B, 25% A. So we got 2 for B, 1 for A, and 1 for S. So that, I would say, that would put it at A tier. Does that sound right?
I think so.
That's what I'm trying to, like, in my mind, I'm like, it'd be, maybe that would be like an A.
Well,
I think maybe,
yeah.
Because the A would bring up one of the B's to basically be like I would call it like a A minus, and then the S kind of brings it up a bit. But this is what you guys want. So now you got 2 more slots for the A tier. So that was, what are we talking about? Kirby. Okay, so there goes Kirby. All right. So now, going back to me. Oh boy. So yeah, okay. So yeah, we got. Yeah, because this is where I screwed up. I should have put Ogre Battle at D, because my next D pick, I know that sounds bad. My next D pick is going to be F-Zero, and it should have been in C, but because I have Ogre Battle in C, that's why I got to put it in D, because I can't say that I like F-Zero better than all these other games. And again, this is personal preference. I'm not huge into racing games. I think, like, I'm not saying they're bad. It's just, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys all know, everybody knows the more games you play, you start gravitating towards certain genres, and you vibe better with certain genres. So for me, racing games just happen to be on the lower tier of things when it comes to what games I personally gravitate towards. Now, that being said, though, F-Zero, I love to this day. It takes me back, and shameless plug to the Super Retro Force channel. Whenever the Size Nostalgia Zone video comes up, I talk about my first experience playing F-Zero on there. And I literally can remember when where I was at. It was a kid from school. I was at his house. His older brother, his room was, because they lived in like a split level house. So his room was technically, you could say, it was like the basement because it was the lower level. But the way he had it set up in there, because he was probably like 19, 20 at the time. So he actually had a job and was able to afford all the nice toys for the time. So he had like what we would refer to as like the OG flexing station, like the old entertainment center, but it was like the 90s entertainment center. When they kind of incorporated a little more glass stuff to it, not like they were starting to kind of get away from the wood look, but it still had like, I would call it basically like they started having a little bit more of the black Formica, like the matte finish kind of look, and the big stack speakers, one on each side, and he had like the glass. There was like a glass showcase above where the TV was at that had the Super Nintendo with some of the games he had, and he had F-Zero. And when I seen it, I know it sounds super cliche, but as soon as you start playing Mute City and the music hits, holy crap. It just like, it made my arms like get goosebumps because I was like, I just felt like it was the most wild thing I had ever seen at the time. And then hearing the noises and stuff, like when you hit the walls, and then even, of course, like seeing that you could get launched off the track and then you blow up and die. I was like, what the heck is going on? And it was so fast paced. And it just blew my mind as a kid back then because I had, at that point in time, there was nothing really like it. So it totally takes me back. And it's one of those games where I literally can pop it on and I'm right back there again. And it's got the vibes for sure. And if you haven't played it, by God, you definitely should. And with that, Belmont, what's your thoughts on F-Zero?
This is another game that I got in the lot whenever I got my hand-me-down SNES, and I'm telling y'all, I love this game. This is the first racing game I ever played. And racing is one of my favorite, genres to just when I want to sit down and relax and just play a game and have fun, I always go to either sports games or racing games. And racing, I would not be in as into racing games as I am if it wasn't for F-Zero. That Mute City music, the whole soundtrack, honestly, but Mute City in particular,
Yeah.
yeah, that is a track. And I love the fast paced nature of it.
Yeah.
I sucked at it as a kid,
Yeah.
but as you play more, you get better.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I love just how great it feels to play. Still to this day, even like I was just playing on Mute City in like a circuit not too long ago, just to get some old nostalgia feelings, and yeah, still had a blast to this day. Even did a time trial on it, so yeah. But as far as where to rank it, I'm gonna put it in C, not necessarily D, but I'm gonna put it in C.
Okay, fair enough. What say you, Serge?
I liked F-Zero. Not my favorite game from the F-Zero franchise, but it's still a pretty good Super Nintendo game. I actually named a sub-series on my channel based on one of its greatest feature, Mode 7, which was very great, unique feature that a lot of Super Nintendo games used. I like that aspect of it. But again, compared to other games on this list that we're going to be ranking, it has to go C tier for me.
So C tier for you. So I guess C tier it shall stay. Which I would have said C as well. Like I said, like I would have put it at C at mine, but I made the mistake of putting Ogre Battle there, but you live and learn, right? So C tier is where it shall lie. And what am I missing for the chat? Chat's got 1, 2, 3, 4. Gosh, I'm missing it quite a bit from the chat. Oh, Zelda. Where did it? Oh, I didn't ask him about Zelda yet. Didn't ask him about Zelda. Just asked him about Earth Defense Force. And I think that's, yeah, there. So we're behind. And then F-Zero, of course. So, okay. So I got to get those pulled out. So make sure, guys, that you're voting on those polls. So I got the Earth Defense Force one up right now for you guys. And we got 2 votes right now that say C/D. And if you did vote for C or D, do me a solid and put that in the chat so that way I know which one you want it to be at, because it only gives me 4 choices for the poll. So please just put C or D in the chat, and then I'll be sure to know that's where you would like it. Okay, so with that being said, let's go on to Mr. Surge. What do we got?
I am going to put. This is tough because I have a lot of great games to choose. Actually, it's not tough. Top Gear at D. It just doesn't compare to what else I chose. It's my favorite racing game on the system. Soundtrack is some of the best, especially that track 1 song. It's so good. It's very tough especially towards the end of the game. Multiplayer is fun, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with D on that one.
What say you, Belmont? You play this game at all?
This is one I have no experience with at all right here. And I think it's probably one of no, it probably is the only one that I don't have any experience with because I didn't even know this game existed until right now. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get some experience under my belt with this game. So I guess by default, since I have no experience, it goes to D.
D. I'm gonna just say the same. I mean, I played it today. Today was, like I said, today was the first time I actually got to play it. It is not a bad game from what I have played. I was probably, I guess I'd probably somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours I got into it. And for a racing game to kind of catch me like that is a really good thing because not many really do. Gran Turismo's another one that's off the top of my head that was a racing game that actually caught me when I was younger. But um, yeah, this was not bad, and I would probably say the same with what we have available. I'm gonna go D as well. So I guess that's where it will lie on ours. And then getting back to the chat, Fat Boys Game says also no Shaq Fu. Yeah, no, not on this one. It can be on one eventually because I'll be doing these quite a bit off and on. But yeah, so Earth Defense Force, we got C and D. Looks like we'll say it'll probably sit in the D tier for the chat. Okay, so then I'm gonna hurry up and ask the chat. What do they want for Link to the Past? Is it going to be S tier, A tier? Now remember, for those that might be lurking about and just started joining us, you guys, and this includes us as well on our tier list, you get 6 slots for each game. So keep that in mind when you're voting. So that is part of the reason why, like I said, like even on like my individual tier, like why I put stuff at the lower end, it's because I'm comparing it to what I had left. And same thing, like when we're talking about the group, meaning myself, Belmont, Surge's lists, we're each kind of giving it our own individual ranking to try to find some sort of a happy medium that we can all agree on. But with that, okay, so we will now go to Belmont. What is your next pick and where do you want it ranked?
All right, now I'm waiting for it to come up on the TV. That's why I keep looking over here, is because I got the stream up on my TV. So let me see. I'm gonna go with a B game actually next, and I will go with. Let's go. I'm gonna get slaughtered for this, but Donkey Kong Country and B.
Ooh. Go ahead and explain to us why you would put Donkey Kong Country at B.
Well, it's because I know that I know what I want up there in that other A slot, but but that does not discount this game. This game is fun. I absolutely love this game. This is one of the best platformers ever made. It is definitely not on the same level as Super Castlevania 4, obviously. The Castlevania guy here, but I do love that game. I actually played it for the first time at a friend's house. He had it, and he had all 3 save files at like 100%. And so we made a new one just so that I could play it. And I'm telling you, we started it at like 12 or 1 o'clock when I had just gotten there. I did not stop playing until like 6 o'clock when we had to go eat. Like, that game is that fun. It is that addictive. But when I'm thinking about that other A slot, I have to put it there at B.
Okay, fair enough. What do you got on this, Surge?
I have to say it's also a B tier game. It's a It's not my favorite from the trilogy, but it definitely left an impression on me regardless. So I'll put that at B.
I am gonna go A because uh, for those that don't know, my personal favorite genres are platformers, beat 'em ups, running guns, shmups. Those are like that's like my top four. I'd say like that's my go tos. And Donkey Kong Country for me, it was mind blowing to say the least. There's another one that kind of caught me. And I would like to think anybody that grew up during the era in which Donkey Kong Country was released, between the aesthetics, the music, of course, everybody is, including myself, loves the aquatic song. It's just it hits so good, and it whoever the composer was, kudos to them because like that's probably, honest to God, my favorite water level song probably ever created. That's just my own personal opinion, but I really do love that song and think it's really good and just sets the tone for what's going on. But I really did think that Donkey Kong Country was the first one rather was God. It's got to be in my top five platformers of all time, in my opinion. So that's why for me I would say A, but you guys both say B, so we will leave it at B because I can't say. Well, could I say S? Hold on, just let me look real quick just to make sure. I'm like, is there four more games or five more games that could be better than it? You know what? Yeah, I think I could say it's S based off of what we have. Yeah. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide. Stay in B or does it get it notched up to A? You guys tell me based off of the amount of slots we have. I'll let you guys be the deciding factor.
Mm, I will leave it in B personally for me.
You good with B then, Belmont?
I definitely agree with the B
Okay.
pick there because I
Fair
see
enough.
another game on there that I think is better than it. So yeah,
Okay. Fair enough. All right, so getting back to chat before we move on, looks like Link to the Past with 3 votes. Again, I'll just say, just keep an eye on the chat. Those of you that are lurking, because I see we're up to 9 viewers here, concurrent that is. We got up to around 12 or 13 at one point. But so we got 2 votes for S and 1 for B. So I mean, I would say that probably would default and put it up in the S tier for the chat. So I wouldn't say that 1B knocks down 2 S's to an A. I would think that the 2 S's keeps it at a S tier. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. So we got Donkey Kong Country at B. So now back to me. Oh boy. So, man, this is tough. Yeah, I definitely should have put Ogre Battle at D. Damn it. Mistakes were made. I thought it was an easy pick, but it definitely was. I should have known. Mistakes were made. I am gonna say, you know what? As much as it pains me to do this, I'm gonna actually say Super Punch Out. I'm gonna put it C. And Super Punch Out, again, love the game. Fantastic game. And I love games like this. Like it's all, I mean, granted, I guess you could say it's about a lot of games. It's about patterns and stuff and learning the patterns and timing and stuff like that. But the way it's displayed, I absolutely love how it looks, the aesthetics of it, the sounds, the speed of the game, and just the different move sets as far as like how the opponents that you have to go against, they all have different move sets that you have to try to pay attention to and know how to counter them and stuff like that. And the I guess you could say the area of difficulty, it's definitely there. And of course, with games like this, sadly, you could say it's easy once you figure out how to beat everybody. But when you have no idea how to beat them, it can get quite frustrating when you're going to just get completely demolished. In my opinion, if you've never played it, after you get through the first circuit, it like the difficulty level goes up like quite a bit, in my opinion. And then by the time you, especially you get to the special circuit, if you can even unlock it, because you have to go undefeated in the 3 prior circuits to unlock the special circuit. And then once you get there, then of course, again, you have another array of difficulty with the opponents that you have to go against there. But it is a great game nonetheless, and one that, again, I'll say this about just about every game that we talk about here. If you haven't played it, definitely check it out. With that, Belmont, what do you have on Super Punch-Out?
This was another game that I used to rent as a kid, and it actually got me into boxing games because before that, I never really played any boxing games. But when I played Super Punch Out, it was fun. Recognizing the patterns, having to sit there and, I was trying to guess if the boxers were parodies of any other boxers that I'd seen IRL because I was kind of a boxing fan as a kid. And just the silliness of it, the over the topness of it was really fun. I did love how great the gameplay is. In terms of ranking it, I agree with you. I think it's a C tier game.
Fair enough. What do you say, Serge?
I had this game when I was a kid. After the third opponent, I always dropped off from the game because the difficulty spike definitely jumped up a little bit. And compared to other games I had for the system around that time that held my interest, I would have to put this game at a D tier.
D tier. And where did you say, Belmont?
I also said C.
You said C. Okay, let me just look. I just want to meet. Okay. I think I'm okay putting it in C tier as well. So 2 C's, 1 D. All right. And we're waiting on the chat right now. They're voting on Top Gear, and I see, looks like JP said C for that. Whoever else voted for the C/D, please post that up in the chat as well, or I guess I'll just default it as a C. So I see an A, then a C and a D. So we've got 2 C's, 2 C's, and 1 A. So that would definitely probably be like a B as of right now. Does that sound fair? Without, well, I guess we got another C or D. It's got 4 votes. 3 of them are in the C, D, but I know 2 of them for sure are C's. All right, so while the chat figures out where they want Top Gear to go, where were we at? Surge. What?
Oh boy.
What would you like to rank next?
Let me think. You know what? I'll throw Secret of Mana at C.
Ooh.
I love this game. Wow. Doesn't hold up as well today as I remember it to be, but good quality still outweighed the bad, such as the soundtrack, the music, and it was the first action RPG I played, so that definitely was fun for the time. It's still a great game to play, but I think it has to go at C based on what's left on my list.
Okay, fair enough. So it seems like the chat.
Actually,
C for Top
no. I'm
Gear.
sorry. D. You gotta put it in
Whoa,
D. Yeah,
D.
it's
Oh my
gotta go
God.
in D.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's sad for me. That hurts.
Woo!
God. All right. What do you got for Secret of Mana, Belmont?
Ooh, man, that one kind of hurt a little bit.
Yeah, that stung. It did.
Jesus,
I thought
man.
my C for Zelda was
Actually, you know what?
rough. Oof.
You know what? Put it in C. I should have stuck with what I picked originally.
You
Yeah,
sure?
leave it in C. Yeah,
Okay. All
something
right.
else came to mind that goes in D. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, because I was kind of looking, going, oh man, all right. Go on, Belmont.
Yeah.
I love Secret of Mana. It was a game that I actually experienced in co-op for the first time because one of my friends
Ooh.
was like, "Dude, I have a perfect game for us to play," and I was like, "Well, what's that?" He was like, "Secret of Mana," and I was like, "Wait a minute, isn't that an RPG?" And I thought that all RPGs at the time when I was a kid were single player. I didn't even comprehend that one could possibly be co-op. And so he was like, "No, dude, me and you can play it together." And I'm like, "What the heck? Okay." So me and him played through that game. He was Randy. I forget what the chick's name is, but I was her. And so we played through that game. Man, I had so much fun. I have actually so much fun with that game that I had to pick up the collection of mana for the Nintendo Switch just to be able to play it again. Because, yeah, I love that game. So, as far as where to rank it, I do agree with Surge. I think it's a C tier. Because there are some other RPGs on here that I think are better than it. So, yeah, definitely C tier.
I guess and this is this is me. I'm just trying to look. Let's see what we got here on ours. So you guys say C. Man. Yeah, I guess. I guess I'm okay with that. So I'll go with C as well. Because I'm like, I have another hot take that's going to happen at some point, and you guys are going to go, what? But.
I love hot takes.
Oh, yeah. And again, it's all personal preference, but, yeah, but I'll be okay with that being in C. I mean, I'd prefer it being in at least B, but I'm like, going with what we have available to us right here, I'm going, okay, I guess I'm okay with that being in C. But I'll just quickly elaborate and just say this was another one satisfying win for me. I beat this again around the age of 10, 11 years old, and I haven't played it since I was in high school, so I'll have to go back, Surge, and try to play it because I mean I have to anyways for retro achievement's sake, anyways at some point. So I'll it's to be determined if it has not aged as gracefully as my brain wants to, remember it and hold it on that pedestal of like one of the great RPGs that I got around to playing as a child. But I will say that with what we have, I will say that I'm definitely good and okay with it being in C though.
Yeah, yeah. Good shot for it. Yeah.
So with that, going back to the chat, looks like we got 2 votes for S for Punch Out, and then one that says C or D, but I don't see anybody post anything in the chat as far as if it was a C or a D. So I guess I'll just assume they'll say C, so that would put it up in A tier. So that means they got one more slot for A tier. So if the votes go in, then it averages out to an A, then it's going to drop down to a B because I don't want to upgrade it. So I would downgrade the game to whatever the default rank is below that. All right. So that being said, we're at Belmont again. So what do we got next, man?
All right. So once I see my list come back up here, okay, so I got 2 in S, I got 1 in A, and I got 1 in B. I need to put, I'm going to put 1 in C here. And I know I'm going to get slaughtered for this again, but I need to put it here because I know what I want to see in the other A and B slots. So, or who knows, maybe I won't. Put Zombies Ate My Neighbors in C.
Oh, no.
Now in our conjoined list, I'm putting that at an easy B. But on my list, I have to put it at C.
And tell us what your thoughts are on it, or any sort of memories maybe that you had while playing this game.
So I didn't play it on the original hardware. I actually went and I played it through the modern re-release on modern consoles with Ghoul Patrol. So that's why I have it as low as I do here. But it is a fun game. I will say that. It's a super fun game. It actually fits this time of the year with the
Oh yeah.
vibe that it gives off. So, yeah, it's a game that I don't have a whole lot of experience with. I played up to, I think, about the 7th or 8th level on this game. But what I have played of it is super fun. I do hope to play more of it in the future. And yeah, so I have to say C for my personal list. On our list with the 3 of us combined, I have to put it at B.
You're gonna say B. What say you, Serge? What do you got on Zombies Ate My Neighbors?
I am going to throw the game in. Oh, geez. Uh, oh man, I gotta put in D. Unfortunately.
Oh no! Oh, let's hear
It's.
the reasons
I
here.
remember renting this one from Blockbuster back in the day. Had a good time with it, especially with the co-op. But again, it's just there's so many other games on here that to me surpass Zombies Ate My Neighbors that I have no choice but to throw it in D.
Oh man. Well, I can't say that I agree with that, but I will say I would, honest to God, it's fringe S for me, but I'm going to say A, because this game so well put together, and the versatility with how they got the weapons set up. Yes, one could argue that it can be, and including myself, it can be frustrating at times on how you have to cycle through the items and there's no way to go backwards. Like, you just have to go through them one at a time and hope that you stop on the right one. And if you accidentally hit the button one more time than you're wanting to, then you're not, using the right item or weapon. But outside of that, I thought the aesthetics were just perfect for a game like that. The sounds, the music, just the overall, uh, just just the environment in general. I just absolutely love that game, and it's one again that I play periodically. And I have yet to organically beat it without save states to this day. I've gotten close. Uh, I know I check up as on Belmont every now and again, and some other people that I have on my retro achievements list to see what games they're playing and stuff like that. But you can see where I have progressed on the retro achievement side of things as far as what level I ended up dying at. But I believe the last time I live streamed it, I got to the high 40s. I didn't quite get to the 50s, but I was in the high 40s for sure. But it's a tough game. I love that overhead view, similar. That's why, I got Smash TV on there, because that's another awesome game. But I love games like that have that overhead view. And I don't know, it just, for me, and for when I played it as a kid. Nostalgic reasons is another reason. It kind of gets bumped up a bit for me, but for those reasons, I would say A. So Serge said D. I said A. Belmont, did you say C or D?
I said C on my personal list for Zombies Ate My Neighbors, but I said B on our list.
Okay. So he said D. So I guess that would put us at B, right? Just trying to think in my head. Are you? Well, I'll let you guys decide. B or C?
You can throw it in B. That's fine.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So B tier for us. So getting to see where the chat's at. They got Donkey Kong Country. There's only 2 votes right now. Come on, guys. Get active. Wake up in that chat. Come on. We can get more than 2 votes for Donkey Kong Country. Where do you guys want it on your tier? So we got 1 for S and 1 for A. I'll let it sit for a little bit more as we continue on.
Yeah, we got to break that tie.
Yeah. So now we're going to be back to me. So now I am going to go... I'm going to go Turtles in Time. And I am going to put it S tier. This game is just... It's one of my favorite beat 'em ups. I mean, obviously Streets of Rage 2 is just... I mean, to me, there's nothing better. But outside of that, and outside of the Streets of Rage franchise, I would say Turtles in Time would be... If Streets of Rage didn't exist, this game would probably be my favorite beat 'em up style game. Now, granted, it's a beat 'em up, but of course, they're using their weapons, but it's in beat 'em up style format. But I absolutely love the aesthetics. I love how everything plays out, how you hit the enemies, and just the interactions you have with the enemies, and then being able to throw them off the screen, amongst other things. Just the layers of difficulty with it. I just think it's a really good game. It's a very well put together beat 'em up, and one that has, for at least for me anyways, high replayability factor because of how well it's put together, and I can play it 100 times over and still I won't get bored with it. So with that, what say you, Belmont?
With Turtles in Time, I grew up with the Turtles. My brother actually was at the perfect time for that, so he naturally got me into the Turtles. And it was with this game. This was the first Turtles game I ever played. Was Turtles in Time. Man, it's a good one. Oh my God, it's a good one.
So what do you got on a
Not
Surge?
one of the best.
Oh, go ahead,
one of the
Belmont.
best beat 'em ups that I played, but because I have played games like Streets of Rage since then. But
Yeah.
if I had to rank this, I'm going. Roy's probably going to kill me for this. B.
No, it's okay, dude. I totally get it. All right, what say you, Surge?
I have to agree with Belmont. While the game is fantastic, I just have to throw it a B. It's not a game I hold too much attachment with. I did play it, but it's definitely a fantastic game, but it's got to go in the B tier for me.
Okay, so for our tier, yeah, you know what? I'm good with it being in B. It's an S for mine, but when I'm looking at the grand scheme of things, I think I'm okay with it being in B. Because I would probably say A, but with you guys both saying B, it would default back to there. So just remember though, guys. So we have 6 in the B tier right now. So are we good with what we have in B tier? Or
you know what? In that case, I would have to change it to a C then.
you're gonna change it to a C? We'll drop you.
Actually, you know what? You know what? A tier hasn't gotten some love. I can throw in the A tier.
Sure. All right. A tier it is. All right. Um. Uh. So okay. Hearing about Link to the Past and B. So part of that is my fault because I have limited. Uh, I had limited time playing it. Not saying I had a bad experience with with what time I did have playing it, but I couldn't, in my right mind, with everything that was on the board, I couldn't realistically say that I would have been comfortable putting it into the A or S tier. And again, that's just personal preference because we all have our games that we prefer over others for various reasons. So so based off of my ranking, it kind of bumped it down a peg. But again, not saying it's a bad game or there's anything wrong with it. So, but for people like Greece that might have just popped in, not saying this is a top 30. This is just we're ranking these games amongst themselves, and this one here is just our collective list. We have each our own tier list for the 10 games we chose, and then this one being for the chat, which is when I'm throwing up polls for the chat to vote on. This is where their games all get put, which I got to get back to. I'm gonna throw up another one while I think about it here. So the next one will be for F-Zero. All right. So where were we at? Turtles in Time. That's where I. So okay, Surge. So what is your next game?
All right. I will put. I will put Donkey Kong Country 2 at the A tier.
Ooh, DK Country 2 at A tier for him. Found his personal
Gotta
list.
put that at the A tier. It's my favorite Donkey Kong Country game. It blew me away when I was a kid. It was actually the first Super Nintendo game I got for Christmas because when I got my system, it came with Super Mario All Stars with Mario World bundled on the cartridge. So this was the first Super Nintendo game I received after I got the system. The music is some of the best gaming music you'll ever hear from anything. The levels are very varied, has more variety than the first game. The new animal buddies they included were really fun, and I think Captain K. Rool as a pirate is cooler than King K. Rool as a dude with a crown. So I gotta go with the A tier on this.
Okay. What say you, Belmont?
I agree with everything that Serge said. Everything that the first game did, which was that is a great game. And honestly, if it wasn't for him picking DKC2, it would have been on my list. But I had to go with the first game. But I love just how expanded it was. It felt like a proper sequel because you have more animal buddies. I love Diddy Kong. He's one of my favorite Nintendo characters, period. Love the man. And also, just getting to play through all the different levels and the music being somehow better than the first game is just amazing to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, put that thing up in A tier where it belongs.
So you guys both say A. I say S. I mean,
I'm good with that
I
too.
say because with what we have left, I'm like, because personally, I mean, I would have put probably Donkey Kong Country up in S as well. Like, I love the DK Country series. Even the third one, I know the third one gets a little bit of hate, but I still did enjoy the third one. But the first two for me were like just money. But I personally say S. I know you guys said A. Now, again, with the amount of slots we have available, where would you guys feel comfortable putting it with what we have available left to choose
I
from?
say throw that in S tier.
S. Are you good with that, Belmont?
I'm sticking with my A tier pick, but but I don't mind it going up to S. I don't mind it.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Let's see. Going back to the chat, got 2 votes for A for F-Zero, so that is where that goes, and that's your guys' last one for A. So A is no longer on the board. So, that being said, no, getting to Belmont. All right, where are we at now? We got your last 5. So what would you like next?
Okay, so I have 2 S's and an A, a B, and a C. Let's get my first D tier game out of the way. Killer Instinct, put it in D.
And I totally agree with this one. But go ahead and tell us as to why.
The reason why I put Killer Instinct here is because I honestly think, and this is coming from a guy who loves Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on that system, I honestly think that Killer Instinct is the best fighting game on the Super Nintendo. I'm a huge fighting game fan, and I played the arcade version of Super Turbo, so that's why I didn't put that on my list. I associate that more with the arcade than I do with the Super Nintendo, but Killer Instinct, great game, great characters, music is great, the stage design is great, and the thing that made this game stand out from the rest of the pack in terms of fighting games is the absurdity with the combos. I mean, you could have combos going for days in this game.
Yeah, you can.
And then whenever you get that super satisfying counter and you hear the combo breaker.
Yeah.
It is so great. Love this game to death, but in terms of everything that's on my list and on the overall list, I have to put it in D.
Go ahead, Serge. What do you have on Killer Instinct?
I gotta agree. Throw it on the D. It's
Throw it on the D.
Somebody clip that! Please, somebody clip that!
Yes!
Oh my god!
Perfect moment.
It's,
Someone's in the mood. It's all right.
it's a good graphical showpiece for the system. It's a great fighting game, but again, compared to what we got, it's gotta go in the D.
Gotta go in the D. So I agree. I'll say it's D for myself. It's not a bad game. Now, again, I'm not a fighting game guy. I can play them. They're not terrible. It's just not my cup of tea. Like when it comes to what's my go-to genre of games. And, of course, part of that is, am I the best at them? Not really, because I don't have the patience for them like that. So I can beat, like I beat Mortal Kombat, beat Street Fighter 2, probably I would say just a default difficulty. But when you start ramping it up, that's where my attention span is like, I don't have the patience to try to learn all this stuff, so I'm good. So, but the visuals, great. Like you said, the combos are great. And when you hear them like going, crazy, doing like the super duper sweet combo, it's like they're doing like 900 moves on you at once. It's just like, yeah, it was a different experience, but I did like it as a kid for a fighting game, but I can totally be okay with this sitting down in the D tier. So, getting back to the chat, looks like only 2 people. Come on, guys! Only 2 people voted for DK Country 2, 1 for S and 1 for B. So, I'll wait till at least gets one more vote in there to see where it lies. But we will now move along back to myself. And we're going to go A tier. And I am going to go with Super Mario All-Stars. And this, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think this was like the first game where it was like a remaster, if you will. Chat, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, or if Belmont or Surge, if you guys know something that was potentially remastered before Mario All Stars, please let me know. But this was the first game that I knew of that was a remaster. And the fact that you got to play all of the old ones and they were all remastered on 16-bit, it looked so freaking good. And I'm a huge Mario fan, and I can play these games till the day I die. I absolutely love them. And yeah, so for those reasons, Mario All Stars, it's going to sit for the A tier for my list for sure. So with that, Belmont, what do you got on Mario All Stars?
I love the Mario games. I actually, in the lot that I got with my Super Nintendo, I got one that's on my list and Super Mario All Stars. And I love those games. Now, I played them all on the NES, but playing them in 16-bit and having all the Mario games at the time, which is Super Mario World, and then these games all in one place. Oh, it was a dream because I didn't have to bust out the NES to play 1, 2, and 3 anymore. I could just be like, yeah, let's just boot up All Stars. So these are some of the best platformers ever made, remastered in beautiful 16-bit. I love the soundtracks for them. I think that they are some of the finest platformers ever made. I'm actually gonna put it in S. These are easy S tier.
S tier for you. What say you, Surge?
I'm gonna throw this on the A tier. It's definitely a fantastic selection of Mario games. Oh, controversial take here. I
Uh-oh.
think I prefer the NES version of Mario Bros. 3 over the Super Nintendo remastered.
That's fair. That is fair.
Hey, I can't,
Yeah,
I can't argue that. It was good on the NES though, for sure.
something about the sound effects. I just liked how the music sounded 8-bit more, but regardless, fantastic set of games. You can't go wrong. So I'm okay with putting it on the A tier.
A tier. So 2 A's, 1 S. I think we will.
I think that does by default put it in A tier because
Yeah.
I'm outnumbered here.
Yeah. So we'll sit. It'll sit in the A tier. Okay. So now we're gonna move on to Surge. What would you like to talk about next?
All right, hmm. I already know what game is going into the S tiers, but I'll talk about that later. Well, from the three that I'm thinking outside that, all right, I gotta put Yoshi's Island at the B tier.
Yoshi's Island B tier. Final answer.
Final answer. I'm locking it in. I
All
actually
right.
prefer Yoshi's Island over Super Mario World.
Ooh,
That's
okay.
I know.
Really?
I
That
know, that's
is
controversial.
Those are fighting words.
wow. That is
Oh,
that's hot.
Those are
just wait.
fighting words right there.
Just wait till you hear my opinion on Mario World later, but we'll get to that later.
Oh no. Oh man. All right. So
But
tell us.
Yoshi's Island, the graphics are crazy. The nice storybook touch to the graphics, the music gave Yoshi the chance to be the star that he truly is. You can't go wrong with Yoshi's Island. And the game has some epic boss fights compared to other Mario games, which are pretty lackluster. In terms of 2D boss fights in a Mario game, Yoshi Island holds the #1 spot.
So what's your thoughts on Yoshi's Island there, Belmont?
I definitely do not put it that high, but but I guess it's because it was different than the other Mario games that I had played, but it's not a bad game. Okay, I do like it, and I played through it a couple times as a kid, thanks to rentals and stuff like that. Winking rentals for the win on that, but yeah. As far as boss fights go, I do agree with Surge though. It has some amazing boss fights, especially that ending boss fight.
Oh hell
where
yeah!
yeah, where you're just tossing that egg back and forth and you don't know where it's gonna land. Yeah, that's so much fun. So
He literally Bowser scared the crap out of me because when you get really close and then you can't hit him and then you get a game over because he ran into you. That always put me on
oh
edge.
dude, that's the worst. That is the worst. But
Oh my god.
while I can't put it at B, I'm definitely putting it at C for sure. It's not a D tier game, but it's definitely C.
I'm gonna agree with Belmont and say C based off of what we have available. I'm kind of like, I was kind of looking, I'm going, I can't justify putting it in B. Definitely can't justify putting it in A or S. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with C myself. So we got two C's. And what'd you say, Serge? Well, you said B for yours. Did
I
you
put it.
want it to be higher on
Yes.
ours?
Um. Oof. You know what?
So if you
I can
said
easily see
A,
you
then
guys picking.
it would put us to B
I
if
can
you
see
said
some of these
A.
other games being higher that you guys would pick, so I'm comfortable with it being on B.
All right, so there it'll be. Okay, so that locks us out of B tier. So we have no more selections for B. So it might be one of those things where like how it was for Rad and I, is we had to put some games towards the bottom that we kind of regretted doing that too. But you know, it's the name of the game. So now moving on, going to Belmont. What do we got?
Back to me.
Yes, sir.
All right, so now I can start putting all the games in the second slots here. So for my second A slot, Super Mario World.
Super Mario World. That's a good one. Yeah, I can totally get behind that. Go ahead and let us know why is it there for you.
I think it is the best Mario game out there. I love the different levels in it. There was so many different levels. I love the replay value. The soundtrack is great. I also love how it promotes exploration by finding the secrets within the different levels. And so it unlocks different places on the world map that you can explore. Absolutely adore this game.
So what?
Now, ranking it on our conjoined list,
Yeah.
S tier.
Ooh. What say
I'm gonna
you,
get right up
Serge?
there with Super Mario All Stars for me. Like, I'm a Mario fanatic.
What's your thoughts on it, Serge? Where do you
Well,
think it should go and why?
it sucks because I loved Super Mario. I still do. I love the game, right? But the game provides no challenge for me anymore. When I play that game, I always fumble into a routine. I just get the feather, and I end up caping past the whole level. Um, the game is just too easy for me. Like I don't find any challenge anymore because I know that game like the back of my hand. So when I go into the game, I don't ever get that sense of challenge where I do with some of the other games I still love and play to this day. With that being said, though, the game is still a masterpiece, so I have to put it. I have to put in A.
A. I am good with it. Let's see. Oh man, you know what? Nah, I'd have to say I'll have to put it in S as well. Belmont said S, right? You said S?
On our list,
Yeah.
yeah, I said S.
Okay. Then S that's where it goes. And you know, my reason is, and I can get behind what you're saying, Serge. I can't say I know it like the back of my hand, but it was one of those things where I used to play it a lot, and I stopped playing it because I was able to get through it so quickly, and I was realizing it was no longer becoming a challenge for me. but I enjoyed the process of getting to that point and then also getting to play it when it first came out. Now, granted, I didn't have a Super Nintendo, but when I was able to play it at a buddy's house when it first came out, I was just mind blown again, going from 8-bit Mario to Super Mario World because believe it or not, I actually played Super Mario World before I played Mario 3. So I played Super Mario 1 and 2 and then went straight from 2 to Super Mario World. So seeing the map and how everything was, that was the first time I had ever seen anything like that. Now granted, if I had played 3, then the map thing might not have been so mind-blowing to me, but since I hadn't seen it up to that point, it did blow my mind, and just the overall aesthetics, music, sounds, everything top tier for me. And that's why for me it's definitely an S game that I totally would put that up there as well. So
That's fair enough.
the chat, they were kind of split there, but Killer Instinct ended up settling on B because A tier was not available. So it dropped down to B, and now I'm waiting on them. They're voting right now on Super Mario World, and they only got one vote. So remember that, guys, in the chat. Maybe I should put something on the overlay to let people know that they can vote in the chat, because I know not everybody gets engaged with live chats, but excuse me. You guys vote on where you want to see them listed on your guys' tier, which is this right here. So now, here we go. Continuing on with mine. I'm going to go Maximum Carnage, and I am going to put that in A tier. And Maximum Carnage, although is an extremely difficult game, and I was only able to beat it using save states. I have yet to beat it without save states, but I'll say A tier for me is Maximum Carnage. And a game, again, if you haven't played it, please play it. You won't regret it. So with that being said, Belmont, what's your take on Maximum Carnage? Is that one you played?
Maximum Carnage is one that I played as an adult via emulation.
Okay.
Because I never got a chance to rent it when I was a kid, and I like Spider-Man. He's one of my favorite superheroes, but I didn't know what type of game it would be. I didn't know if it would be like those typical superhero games that you would get back in the day that were either a beat 'em up or a platformer.
Yeah.
And you could really go either way with Spider-Man, but with this being a beat 'em up and with it being as good of a beat 'em up as it is,
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate it for how good it is. And it's also one of the most sneaky games in terms of challenge factor.
Oh yeah.
That game is hard.
Oh yeah. Big time.
It is hard, man. I still haven't finished it, but I did play through a few levels and I had a good time with it. As far as I go, man, I'd say, and I only say this in terms of what we have left on the list here, but I'm putting it in D tier based on what's left, because there's a lot of goodness left.
So what say you, Serge? What do you got on Maximum Carnage?
I did not like Maximum Carnage whatsoever, so I'm throwing that in the D tier.
Okay.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was a huge Spider-Man kid back in the day, so this game just it did it all for me. I guess let's see what we got left. Am I okay?
We just there's so many good choices still left to go.
I know. That's why I'm looking. That. I get it, dude. Yeah, that's where I'm looking. I'm going. Okay. Yeah, I'll be good with it being there. All right. So, Serge, what do we got on yours? You got 3 left. So we got Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, and Super Metroid.
I'm gonna have to sadly put. Oh God, this gonna be hard to hear. I know. I gotta put Super Metroid in C.
In C.
Oh,
it's just,
God, that hurt.
Oh
I
man.
just it's one of the greatest Super Nintendo games, one of the best Metroid games, one of the greatest games in general. But look at what I got left on my list. I have no choice.
Okay, you know
I'm
what?
actually, you know what? Yeah,
I see where you're coming from.
I
I
almost
do.
wish I can go back and put Secret of Mana in D. Uh, but I have to stick with my choice. So yeah, I gotta go Super Metroid and C. Even though it's not a C tier game.
All right. Well, I got just posted up Super Metroid in the chat. I know we're still a little bit behind on where the chat needs to be because we still got to give them Turtles in Time, Secret of Mana, Yoshi's Island, Maximum Carnage, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and Mario All Stars. So they're pretty behind. We need you guys to vote. Vote on the games.
Vote on the games.
That's right.
I
All right. So where are we going to be putting, I should say, Belmont, first and foremost? What's your thoughts on Super Metroid?
I love Super Metroid. I am a huge Metroid fanatic. As you can see right here, I have my copy of Dread, Prime Remaster. Love these games to death. Super Metroid, it was my favorite of the 2D Metroids until I played a certain one here. But this game is phenomenal. Everything about it, the exploration, the feeling of isolation that it gives you, the creepy vibes, the alien vibes that this game gives off. It's one of the reasons why I love Metroidvanias in the first place. Like everything about this game is fantastic. So for me personally, obviously since I'm a big Metroid fan, gotta go S tier.
S tier. So this was one that not only did I miss out on, but I have yet to go back and play it. I only got to play, like, when I mean minute amount, like I probably only played it for about a half hour. But I did like the visuals. I liked how the concept was. It didn't seem quite as aggravating as the original Metroid was to me as a kid. For any of those who have never played it on the NES, for me, the original Metroid was pretty aggravating as a kid trying to play because you have to try to remember where to go, and the map is, from what I can remember, the map was pretty big. So trying to
yeah,
remember where to go could be pretty frustrating as a kid. Um, but God,
agreed with that.
um, let's see. Um, I feel like I'd be like doing a disservice if I said like something low here, but I don't really have
I think
much
it's gotta go.
because
Gotta go
B,
with ARS.
because you guys both said S, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, so even if I said, we'll put it in S, because even if I said, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll be good with that. We'll throw it in S. Okay. Carrying on, Mr. Belmont, what would you like to talk about next?
Okay, so I got both S slots, both A slots filled out. I'm gonna go for my B slot next, my second B slot, and I will put Earthbound in there.
Damn it. Why do we have to be 5-year-olds? Because I'm just hearing the B slot, you know? B slot. It's got to go in the B slot. I'm like, damn it. My childish brain.
I don't know why we gotta be this way.
So you said
Oh
just to
God.
clarify, it was Contra, right? Going in B? Is that what it was? Contra 3 was going into B for
No,
you?
I said Earthbound.
Earthbound. Oh, I'm
I said
sorry.
Earthbound.
Okay. So Earthbound is B. Okay. There we go. All right. So explain to us, why is Earthbound in B and not one of the higher tiers for you?
Well, I mean, if you take a look at my top two tiers here, you can understand why Earthbound is in B. Now, if you played Earthbound, you know how good of a game it is. It is one of the wackiest RPGs that you can possibly play on the Super Nintendo. but it's also one of the most fun ones that you get to play on the Super Nintendo. I mean, you play this kid, there's an alien invasion coming on, and you have to go from town to town and meet all these weird, wacky characters. And it's just such a fun time. Great writing, great music. I love the battle system. It actually inspired one of my favorite indie games of the last 20 years or so in Undertale. And everything about this game just screams charm, nothing but charm. So, with everything being here, I mean, there's no other position that it deserves to be in other than B, but because our slots on our combined list in B are filled up, I wouldn't mind it going to C.
Okay. What say you, Serge?
Honestly, I have not played much of Earthbound, which is a shame because it's one of those games that inspired a lot of games on the indie scene. And not only that, Earthbound still has a unique identity of its own that really makes it something special. So I'm okay with putting it in. Honestly, that could go in the. I say you could throw it in the A tier, honestly.
Oh
I wouldn't
man.
mind that. I definitely wouldn't mind that.
So I'm looking what's left, and there's some games that definitely aren't A or S tier quality left outside a couple. So I have no problem putting that in A.
Oh, well, this is just well, I was gonna say C. So well, you said A. Belmont, you said what again?
I said C
You said C.
on our list.
Well, let's see. Hmm.
You know what?
Just
If
trying.
you guys want to put in C, that's fine, considering I haven't played much of it. So, you know.
Now, I didn't beat it myself. I got because I started a file. I actually just started playing it recently myself. I think I got my file, if I recall correctly. I'm only like a little over 3 hours into it or something like that. When I checked my file, it was something along those lines. But when I compare it to even the RPGs that I played for the time, I personally don't understand why people love it as much as they do. And that's my hot take is like, I just don't get it. I personally don't understand why people are like they put it on such a high pillar. I don't know. That's just me though. I don't get it. But it's not a horrible game. It's just again in comparison to a lot of the other RPGs I played that were of the 16-bit era. I don't I never understood why this is like way up there on a lot of people's lists. But yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
that's
why
fair.
I was gonna put it low myself. I was gonna say it could go in the D tier, but I'm like, but that's personal preference. That's why, because I'm so yeah. So that was
Yeah.
Belmont's, right?
Yeah, that was Belmont's pick.
All right. So last, of course, so I got two for the B tier, and of course, I'll start with Pocky and Rocky. If no one's ever played that, it's a similar styled game, similar to Smash TV. It's got like the overhead aerial look. Then you're shooting at enemies, but you're walking around, and you also have a melee attack that you can use as well. But it is really really well put together in my opinion. They have a lot of little Easter eggs in there that you can get from shooting stuff, and it's definitely something that, or a game rather, that I think that people should check out if they have not heard about it. And yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely worth being in the B tier. Excuse me, I didn't think it was, in my opinion, less than that. I felt middle of the road on these 10 games that I had. I thought was pretty fair. Um, so I don't know, Belmont, if you had any experience playing Pocky and Rocky or not, but if you did, what are your thoughts on it?
So my thoughts on Pocky and Rocky. I have very little experience with it. I actually heard about it through people talking about Pocky and Rocky reshrined that English, and it made me kind of curious of it. So I went and I got a ROM of the original game on Super Nintendo and played through the first level. Had a fun time with it, and it's one that I definitely want to go back to at some point because I was having a lot of fun with it. But for me personally, where I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, I have to put it in the D tier.
D tier. All right, what do you say, Serge?
I unfortunately do not have a lot of experience of this game as well, so I would put that in the C tier. I did play a little of the remake of the reshined remake that came out not that long ago. For the original, I'd put in C.
You say C. Okay. I'm just trying to look. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, because I can't justify putting it in A with what we have left. I'm like, no, I couldn't say that. Okay. So the chat, we need a tiebreaker on the poll. We only got one vote, one for S and one for D for Earthbound. So what's left for you guys was you had S, B, C, and D left. So okay, we'll carry on. Surge, what do we got? We got Mario RPG and Chrono Trigger, and wow, the fact that one of these games is going in D tier is kind of mind blowing to me.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. That
I think mistakes were made, Surge.
and I kind of have a feeling as to which one it's going to be.
So I was gonna get my S tier right out of the way. No more suspense. Gotta be Chrono Trigger. That was a no-brainer right there. Chrono Trigger is my favorite JRPG of all time. It did time travel in a way that I haven't seen games pull off quite as well as Chrono Trigger. It standardized the new Game Plus feature, and it incentivized you to keep playing the game because you can get a whole bunch of different endings by messing with the time travel system and going places where you shouldn't go yet with your max level. The music is some of the best around. There is just nothing that Chrono Trigger gets wrong. That game is flawless. It's perfect in my eyes, and that is actually my third favorite game of all time. It is deserving of the S tier spot, no question about it.
All right, what say you, Belmont?
I agree with Surge every step of the way. That game is fantastic. I love the way it did time travel. It's very hard to do time travel and do it right and make it make sense. This game somehow did it, and I love the character work. I love the artwork. Akira Toriyama, you will be missed.
R.I.P.
You will be missed. It's one of the most iconic box covers. It's one of the most iconic theme songs, soundtracks. Everything about this game is just iconic. So to put it in anything below S tier would be sacrilege.
I'm gonna have to go with you guys
Amen.
on that. And I never got to play all the way through, believe it or not. This was another one. I actually started playing this on a live stream. I did 2 rounds of it, so I think I got a little over, I think I was like about 4 hours in. But from what I played, I mean, it sucked me right in. It was just one of those things though that sadly because of adulting, it's hard for me to play any sort of RPGs, especially ones if I've missed out on them. The ironic thing is though is now having the baby. I kind of made jokes saying that RPGs are kind of almost something that is something I can play because I don't necessarily need to be 100% focused in on what's going on is from a control standpoint, you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm playing a platformer or run and gun or shoot 'em up or something like that. So it's more slow pace, so I can sit there and hold the baby in one arm while using one hand to use the D-pad to move my character around, and so I'm just basically I'll have my controller laying next to me on the couch, and I'll have him, and then using my other hand to kind of control my character. So I might go back. I shouldn't even say might. I know I will at some point go back and play this game and finish it out because it definitely was getting good from the last time I had played it. So I know, like, I agree with you guys. Just from what I seen, yeah, it was definitely as an S tier RPG, 110%.
Honestly, too, another good point about Chrono Trigger is the game isn't really that super long either. You can, depending on how quick you are, you can beat the game in 20 hours. So that's not
Okay.
too bad, all things considered.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
no,
very
yeah.
short
Yeah,
RPG.
20 hours is yeah, that's pretty quick for an RPG, yeah. All right, so that being said, getting back, looks like we got yet again 2 votes for the chat for Zombies Ate My Neighbors right now because I know they're behind. So they got 1 for S and 1 for C tier. So we need some sort of a tiebreaker, if you will, to try to even the score here. So even if you don't want to be active in the chat, you can still vote on where you guys would like to see these games ranked, and then I'll be throwing them up on your guys' list. So somebody put it in D tier, 1C, 1S. So that probably average out to be about a C right now where it stands. So, Belmont, you're down to 2 games. You got Earthworm Jim and Contra 3.
Yeah, man. I am down to Contra 3 and Earthworm Jim.
It's tough.
I'm going to put Contra in the tier that matches its name, put it in the C tier.
Ooh, there we go. All right, so why do you got it in the C tier?
Well, other than the fact that look at what's above it on my list. This game is one of the best run and gun games I have ever had the pleasure of playing. I rented it a couple times as a kid, never really managed to beat it. I still haven't managed to beat it, but every time I play it, I just get some sort of satisfaction out of going through the different levels, learning the patterns, slaughtering all these aliens in my way. The soundtrack is phenomenal for this game, as is with all the Contra games. And I don't know, man. It's just, especially if you play it in co-op, I do recommend that with all the Contra games. If you have someone that is willing to play these games with you, please do that. It is one of the best co-op experiences you can ever have. So on my personal list, it has to go in C tier because of what's above it. But on our list, I cannot put that at D. It's got to go in the A tier.
A tier for ours. What say you, Serge?
Compared to what we have left on our list, yeah, definitely is not a D tier game whatsoever. So, not quite an S tier game, but definitely it is an A tier game. So I'm comfortable putting it in there.
I can go with that as well. I'm comfortable with that. So moving along. Let's see, back to me. So obviously, I got Smash TV lays at B. Similar reasons to Pocky and Rocky, but this was the first game that I played that was like that had that overhead view. And I loved that it clearly got inspiration from the movie The Running Man. So it just tied in so beautifully. And I loved I should say, I love the amount of difficulty in this game. I still, again, this is one I beat with save states. I have not beat it without save states, and I'm trying ever so hard to get to that point. But Smash TV, if you haven't played it, definitely check it out. What do you got on it, Belmont?
I played this in passing at a friend's house, so I really don't have a whole lot of experience with it. But I will say, what I did play of it looked pretty neat. It played pretty well. I definitely do need to go back and actually get some more experience under my belt with this because I like overhead view games. I mean, obviously, I had Zombies Ate My Neighbors on my list. So I like these top down view kind of shoot 'em up games. And that's basically what Smash TV is. So as far as our list goes, I can't put it in A or S due to my lack of experience with it, but it's a game that while I am putting it in D tier, I do want to go and experience more of it.
All right, what do you got on it, Surge?
Yeah, compared to what we have left, I can't put it any higher than D. I haven't really played the game. I think I messed around with it for a couple of minutes not that long ago out of curiosity because it plays similar to a game I've been really sinking my time into. It's called Xenocrisis. Pretty similar. So by default, it's got to go D tier.
D tier. You know, no. Dang. I'll have to put it in D. It's like I want to put it in A, but I actually like Earthworm Jim more than I like Smash TV, so I can't justify that. And I like Mario RPG, honestly, more than Smash TV and Earthworm Jim. So alas, Smash TV goes to D. All right, so Surge's last game. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but Mario RPG goes to D tier. Why in God's name is it in D tier, Surge?
Oh my gosh!
That's just how it ended up with the games I picked. I think I picked some good games. It was really hard to choose where things go, and yeah, by default it falls into the D tier on my list. But on the overall list, I could easily throw that in the S tier.
So I gotta ask, in hindsight, because this is just me now, okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at your list. Can we say that that Mario RPG is better than Kirby Superstar?
For me, no. Put Kirby Superstar better than the only thing I would switch. I would put Secret of Mana in the D tier, and I would put Super Mario RPG in the C tier.
Okay.
That's the only thing on my list I would switch around.
So what do you got, Belmont, for Super Mario RPG?
This was an RPG that I played when I first got into RPGs. My first one was Final Fantasy VI, which we've already talked about. My second one was Chrono Trigger. My third one was this one. So I had the trifecta of RPGs. This game right here, I did not think that a Mario RPG could work until I played this game. And then when I found out that Squaresoft would help develop it, I was just like, oh, no wonder I like this game so much. So I love how it works, because it's not your typical turn-based battle system. You can sit there, and when Mario jumps on top of an enemy, if you time a button press at the right time, you can get bonus damage out of it. I love that. It keeps you involved in the battles, as opposed to something like a Chrono Trigger or like a typical Final Fantasy game or a typical turn-based RPG or something like that. So because of that, I have to put it in the S tier on our list. But man, such a legendary game. No pun intended.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go on our list. It's going S as well. Even though, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I am a wino of RPGs, like snobbish like. But I will say that of the RPGs I've played, just from an enjoyment factor, I will say that Mario RPG is one of those RPGs that honestly I could go back and play multiple times because it was just that well put together. And even though it was a obviously targeted towards kids RPG, being a Mario game and such, it was still well put together, and I can still play to this day. In fact, let me see if I still no, I took it out because I got a Superboy, which is the handheld Super Nintendo thing. And for the longest time, Mario RPG was the game that I had in there because periodically I would play my file on there and I would have it with me when I was kind of doing stuff around the house every now and again. But yeah, that one's I totally agree. That's S tier in my opinion for our list. So last but not least, of course, Belmont. What do we got with Earthworm Jim being in D?
Well, Earthworm Jim being in D tier, I mean, if those games above it weren't on there, it would definitely be higher. I like Earthworm Jim a lot. This is a game that when I first rented it, I didn't know what to expect out of it. Because you look at that box art and you're just like, well, this looks kind of like a goofy sort of game. And playing it and just going through the different levels and shooting things with Earthworm Jim's, gun that you have, and it's actually really challenging for a platformer. It's I would dare say one of the more challenging platformers of that era.
Oh, it is for sure, most certainly.
Yeah, because there's a lot of verticality to it.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what I like about Earthworm Jim, as opposed to other platformers of the time that were just scroll from left to right, and then uh, left to right, right to left.
Yeah.
This one added verticality into it, which kind of changes your whole mindset on things because
Oh
you're
yeah.
just used to going left to right and right to left, and then all of a sudden I gotta go up now. Like, what the hell is this? But yeah, I love this game. It shocked me actually when I first played it how much fun I had with it, and it's one that I definitely want to revisit at some point because it's been a minute. It's been a minute since
Yeah,
I've
it's
replayed this game.
I agree. It is very tough. Serge, what say you on Earthworm Jim? What's your thoughts on it?
It's a good game. Definitely one of the more weird, zany games out there. Especially look at the box art and you see an earthworm sticking out of a spacesuit. You're like, what the hell is this kind of game?
Yeah.
Oh, and the
Right.
soundtrack. Yeah, it's very very weird. Oh, and the soundtrack is top notch too. Especially shout out to New Junk City. That song's awesome.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it is. I'll say, yeah, Earthworm Jim, fantastic game. And if you didn't know it was a cartoon, you can always look that up on YouTube. I'm sure there's got to be episodes of Earthworm Jim somewhere hovering around in
Oh,
the
I did not
internet.
know that. I'm gonna have to do that
Oh
now.
yeah, it was a show in the '90s, man. Yeah, yep, it was a Saturday morning cartoon. Um, so yeah, you can definitely get to see Earthworm Jim in all of his glory through animation. So yeah, I'll just end with Earthworm Jim. Like I'll agree with Belmont. Very difficult. Even to this day, I still have problems with it because I don't play it all the time. So whenever I go back and play it, I just ride the struggle bus for a while until I start getting comfortable with it again. But and Fat Boys Game says Booger Man was a great game, and that almost was on my list as well. To be honest with you, it almost was, but another time, another time.
That one I still need to play. I still need to play Booger Man.
Oh, it's actually oddly enough, it's a challenging game. Believe it or not, don't let the name fool you. It's definitely a challenging platformer.
Yeah, it's the boss fights are pretty tough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yep,
Wasn't it both on Super Nintendo and Genesis, Booger
yes,
Man?
yep,
Yeah, I only played the Genesis version. I never played the Super
That
Nintendo version.
that's what I was thinking. That's what I
yep,
was thinking because I actually prefer uh, the Genesis version of Earthworm Jim to the Super Nintendo version.
yeah,
Same.
yep. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll reel things in for that. I was trying to get the chat stuff reeled in here. We got a couple votes because we got Chrono Triggers left. I'll just, instead of making the polls, I'll just you guys see what you have here. You got Yoshi's Island, Earthworm Jim, Pocky and Rocky, Mario RPG, and Contra 3. The chats tier list is all over the place, but
this chat list is wild.
Yeah, this chat list. What the heck, man?
The fact that Chrono Trigger has to be relocated to a C or a D tier is wild.
Yeah.
Insanity to me.
Yeah.
And same with Super Mario RPG.
I know. It's wild to me. Oh man, but if I don't start seeing people post up in the chat whatever they're wanting, I'll just leave it how it is. leave them just kind of lurking about. But to recap on what we had on our collective tier list, our S tiers were Mega Man X, DK Country 2, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Chrono Trigger, and Super Mario RPG, which to me that actually sounds really good. I mean I like that. I that's my personal thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts on
Looking
that?
back, I would have put Final Fantasy 3 on the S tier.
You think so? Well, of course I haven't
for the
played it, so I
group
can't
one.
say
I
that.
know I did.
I said I think I was the reason why it wasn't there is because I hadn't played it, so
Yeah.
I couldn't do much with it. I'm sure if I
Yeah.
played it, I'd probably go, yeah, it should be an S tier game.
I think I said A tier by accident. I meant to say S tier, but it is what it is.
So then we got Super Castlevania 4, Turtles in Time, Super Mario All-Stars, Contra 3, Earthworm Jim, and Final Fantasy 3 is our A tier games. And B tier, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Zelda Link to the Past, DK Country 1, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and Yoshi's Island. C tier, Kirby Superstar, F-Zero, Super Punch Out, Secret of Mana, Earthbound, Pocky and Rocky. And then D tier, we have Ogre Battle, Earth Defense Force, Top Gear, Killer Instinct, Maximum Carnage, and Super Smash TV. Yeah, I mean, I'm overall, I'm more satisfied with this list than when me and Rad were doing ours, and I was like, God, there was probably like 5 games I went, man, I had stuff all mixed up, and I just had all kinds of regrets on that one.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So
I could not have planned my list out, my personal list out any better.
yeah, it's definitely good.
I'm glad I didn't fumble it.
All right, so I'm going to reel things in now. Let everybody know, if you have not already, you can find both the Mad Belmont and Surge Man X on the tubes of you at the Mad Belmont and Surge Man X, of course. And you can find all 3 of us over on our team channel at the Super Retro Force, which the link to not only the team channel, but all of our individual channels are in the description below. So feel free to check all of us out. And is there anything that either of you gentlemen want to add before we log off for the evening?
Oh, man. Not that I can think of, other than the fact that sometime this week I will be having a video come out on my top 10 horror games of all time. I'm actually currently working on that one right now. I was working on it before we got started here.
Nice.
So, yeah, be looking forward to that.
Anything from you, Serge?
Tomorrow I'll be releasing my Halloween special. It's a sequel to a Halloween video I made 4 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to putting that out. It's probably my favorite video I've ever made. So I'm hoping you guys enjoy it. But yes, thank you for having me on, Roy. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was a blast, man.
Oh,
Talking
yeah.
about Super Nintendo games with 2 of my SRF brothers.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, I agree. I had a great time. And I hope that in the future I'll be able to have you guys back at some point. I know, Serge, your schedule is way more intense than what mine is, but hopefully we'll be able to work something out in the future.
Absolutely.
And same goes with you, Belmont. I hope we'll be able to work something out in the future to do something else, because this was a blast. I had a great time. It does not feel like we've been doing this for 2.5 hours, but here we are. But with that, thanks again, everybody who has hung in there with us up to this point. And I will see you guys in another 2 weeks for another live stream. Have a great rest of your night and have a great week.